I have everything right here and it's all been falsified. If anyone dares try to test my mental competence, I will eviscerate every single person with my intelligence right now. And that's not being egotistical.
Well, guys, I think something's in the water. I feel like over the last year, we've been looking at a lot of different content creators or influencers, whatever you want to call them, completely throw their life away over what seems like nothing more than an impulse decision. And when I say throw their life away, I don't mean like getting canceled over some stupid internet shit. I mean more like, you know, committing a heinous crime that lands them in prison for the rest of their life. Seems like it's happening a little bit too frequently these days. Now, we've looked at a lot of influencers ruin their life by doing some silly, goofy stuff, and today is going to be no different. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard of the YouTuber named Erik Van Conover. He's like a real estate guy. He's got a pretty big following. He has nearly 3 million subscribers, and he's had a lot of videos go pretty viral where he tours these like insanely expensive New York mansions and penthouses. If you've been watching my channel for a long ass time, he's like producer Michael. Don't know if our boy Michael's even doing real estate shit anymore. Last time I checked, he was doing some like shady shit with luxury watches. Don't really know what that's all about, but basically Mr. Conover here tours super expensive houses and posts them to YouTube. And, well, in his free time, when he's not touring and recording super expensive New York penthouses, he likes to, you know, try and kill police officers. Yeah, so, our friend Eric here was pulled over the other day for speeding, and, well, instead of stopping and taking what probably would have been, you know, like a $150 ticket maybe, well, you know, maybe more because he was pulled over the week prior for DWI, but that's not important. Instead of taking a ticket or a fine or some points on the license, you know, things that will go away in time, he decided to run for nearly 10 miles. Then for some reason, he decided to pull over, wait for the cop to get out of his car, and then run him over, and then run for another like 30 miles. So what would have been like 15 over in a 35 has turned into attempted murder, first-degree assault against a police officer, second-degree assault, reckless conduct with a deadly weapon, conduct after an accident, disobeying an officer, fleeing, and reckless driving, which, you know, if convicted, is probably gonna be life in prison. Now, obviously, objectively, this is a pretty crazy thing for a person to do. However, at least in my head, it doesn't really seem like something that's newsworthy, at least for my channel. You know, it's not really something that I'd usually talk about, some random YouTuber running from the police. Usually, when I'm talking about influencers and the such getting in trouble with the law, it's stuff like I talked about the other day, you know, the whole piss debacle, the lady who was pissing in all the groceries for OnlyFans money. Stuff like that's a little bit more up my alley. So I wasn't planning on talking about this when I heard about it until I watched some footage from this guy's court hearing. And well, shit gets a little wacky. Even though this man was arrested from his vehicle after, you know, running over somebody, he insists that the cops got the wrong guy, they're looking for the wrong person. He claims that he's been sober for like 5 years, that the DWI couldn't have been him, and that this is some sort of manhunt because he's a famous YouTuber. He's been posting on Instagram about corrupt law enforcement, which, like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Not gonna catch me saying the police are perfect, but again, after you are ripped out of your vehicle for running over a cop, I don't know if you can really pull the crooked law enforcement card. He's been doing a lot of really goofy shit. Apparently, there's a lot of lore here to uncover, and we'll get into that a bit later. But first, let's just take a look at this hearing. Please subscribe.
I have everything right here and it's all been falsified.
Erik Conover had a lot to say before his arraignment this afternoon.
If anyone dares try to test my mental competence, I will eviscerate every single person with my intelligence right now. And that's not being egotistical.
Okay, so I tried pretty hard for you guys here. Like, I probably spent the better part of 2 hours trying to find a way to access this full hearing, but I just don't think it's published anywhere. You can see in some of the footage that the news outlet that published this was like in this meeting. It was like a Zoom call court hearing, so I think they just recorded it and are releasing parts of it. I don't think you can find the full thing, which is really unfortunate because I'm assuming the entire thing is shit like this. So he's saying this in reference to him being charged with these crimes, because it seems like he fully believes that everything that's being said about him is being falsified. Now, I did some research, and people on Reddit, people who follow him a bit closer, seem to believe that he might either have bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, based off of some of the medicines that he's talked about taking before. And apparently, he's been posting posting stories saying that he's not taking his medicine anymore, so that would probably explain the behavior here, which definitely puts a bit of a damper on the whole look at this guy saying crazy shit in court thing. However, he's documented as willingly getting off his medication, going on rants on Instagram about how the pharmaceutical industry was just trying to gaslight him. He's been arrested for behavior like this in the past. Things like BPD or schizophrenia are explanations for this kind of behavior. They're not excuses. Getting a DWI and running from the police over a speeding ticket and nearly killing somebody in the process, all in the span of a few days, then going to court and saying all of this is bullshit, do you guys know who I am, I'm a famous YouTuber, is not justifiable behavior no matter what.
Police paperwork says the pursuit started after Conover was going 55 in a 35. After 8 miles, Conover stopped and an officer attempted to de-escalate the situation, but Conover allegedly drove at him and hit him in the leg and then sped off for another 28 miles.
Our Father who art in heaven.
The paperwork says the officer was thrown 40 feet, suffering a leg injury.
Now, unfortunately for my brain, I've seen a lot of videos on the internet of people getting fatally wounded. And in my expert internet opinion, I feel like getting flung 40 feet from getting hit by a car is kind of insane. That's a long way to go. I mean, especially if the guy was pulled over and he was accelerating from a stop. I think he was in like a Jeep Wrangler. Those things aren't exactly quick. He couldn't have built up that much speed, so it's kind of hard for me to believe this cop got thrown 40 feet. So who knows, maybe this guy's onto something, maybe there is some funky shit going on here. Wouldn't necessarily be surprised.
Conover is facing several charges, including attempted murder.
Mom, thank God, look at me!
Today in court, Conover was outspoken, claiming that he's a public figure because of his nearly 3 million subscribers on YouTube and saying this was part of a, quote, police sting against him.
Yeah, so I mean, while the cop might have not gotten thrown 40 feet, this is, just definitely not the case. Guy's a real estate YouTuber. I don't think law enforcement's after him for any reason having to do with him being a public figure. I think this guy got a DWI, probably wasn't supposed to be driving 3 days later, saw a cop behind him and didn't want to pull over because he knew that, and this happened. Calling this a police sting, kind of wild work.
All right.
Okay, Erik.
All right.
They're here to help you.
The state asks that he remains in preventative detention.
The state's position is that when a law enforcement officer signals for you to pull over and stop, you should do so.
Holy shit, Keith is out here dropping bombs. Never heard a public servant give such a hot take. You should pull over when the police pull you over? You might upset some people with that, Keith. Why even include that shit? Surely he said something more provocative. That's what you include in the news segment? The state's position is that you should pull over when you're getting pulled over. Not something more akin to, I don't know, the state's position is that you shouldn't run over people? Okay, whatever. Not my job.
He has had a chance to review the police reports in this matter and denies these allegations. He does not agree with the reports as that they are stated.
The defense asked that he be released, saying he's not a threat to the public and has no criminal record. Police say he was arrested Friday night for a separate drunk driving charge, which Conover denies.
I've been sober from alcohol for 1,558 days, so to press me on a DUI, I'm a public figure.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to put the puzzle pieces together here. Does he think that the police are trying to put together like a smear campaign to say that he's actually drinking when he's saying that he's sober? That seems unlikely. I mean, okay, sure, if it was just the DWI, yeah, people get arrested for false DWIs all the time. But to be honest, and this might not be fair of me, but when you are arrested for running over a police officer 3 days later, gotta be honest, it's sort of hard for me to believe that you would draw the line at drinking and driving. I mean, if you're willing to run somebody over on purpose, you're probably not gonna be super hesitant to put yourself in a position where you might run somebody over on accident. However, that's pretty much where the footage that we have ends, but I have a feeling that this is not gonna end super well for Erik here. Now look, like I've said, I'm not one to trust the police blindly, don't get me wrong, but somebody running over a cop in the middle of the day during a traffic stop with witnesses all around, body cams on and everything, I mean, I feel like that's kind of a crazy one to try and lie about, right? Feels like that probably happened. Also, apparently there just so happened to be a drone in the air, like somebody was flying a drone and recording, which, okay, hey, maybe this was a sting if there was a drone just flying over the guy, but I mean, I don't think the police can make you run somebody over, so, you know, maybe this guy should have been the subject of a sting, who knows. Anyways, he's being held on preventative detention right now, and he'll be back in court next week for a probable cause hearing to see if there is enough evidence to continue with the trial, which I feel like there's probably gonna be. So hopefully for Erik, he can pull things together. You know, if this is really a police sting against him, hopefully he can find some evidence for that because, well, even if it is a sting, like I said, I'm pretty sure he did run over the guy, so. Don't know if there's really any way out of that. Not good. Well, guys, what do you think? What do you predict to be the outcome of Mr. Erik Conover's situation here? Personally, I don't think it's gonna be very favorable for him. Whether you agree with it or not, cops are sort of a protected class in this country, and committing a crime against them is not seen nor is it treated the same way as it would be committing a crime against a normal person. Yeah, if you run over a cop, you're kinda fucked. And like I've been saying, there's probably video evidence of this happening. It'll probably end up getting released eventually, but yeah, I mean, it's likely it's gonna be pretty cut and dry for the jury. They're just gonna watch this guy run over a cop. Maybe his mental state will be taken into consideration. I'm sure it will, but I can't really see this playing out in a positive way for Erik. Don't think there's really a path where he comes out on top here. When we get more information, I'll be sure to update you guys. Curious to see where this one goes. See ya.